Around 1565, Christophe Plantin, a French-born printer living here in Antwerp, began working in earnest on the grandest project of his career, a sumptuous, multi-volume Bible which he hoped would be the finest Bible ever printed in Christendom. So tell me a little bit about the man who did create it.
He came to Antwerp because there was a university nearby and he saw opportunities to establish a printing press here in Antwerp. In 1968, when he starts printing the Bible, he has only 8 presses. By 1574, he had 16 presses operating.
This particular edition was one of the few that was actually printed on vellum.
Yeah, vellum is much more durable. Paper will tear much easier, but it's much more expensive. From one skin of a sheep, we can have 2 sheets. Plantin needed in total 8,000 sheep to print his 13 copies on vellum for Philip II.
It's sort of scholarly stuff. This is at least 4 languages here. Why make a polyglot Bible?
There was a lot of biblical scholarship, new texts were being found, and so there was a movement in scholarly circles to look again at the biblical texts. And Plantin, very wisely and very astutely, thought that it would bring him great fame. And of course he uses that hook of bringing great fame to appeal to the king, King Philip II of Spain.
Shall we have a look?
Let's have a look. This being part of the Old Testament, this volume then has 4 columns, and so the first one is the Hebrew text with its Latin translation, and then the Greek text and its independent Latin translation. And later in the book, and elsewhere in the volumes, we actually have the 5th language, the Chaldaic text here on the left with its Latin translation. It's one of the ancient languages. There are some phrases that make their way into the Hebrew Bible in Chaldaic.
Presumably that wasn't Plantin himself who was overseeing that aspect of producing the Bible.
No, exactly. Although he was a very learned man, but the scholar who was actually sent by Philip II of Spain was a man by the name of Benedictus Arias Montanus, and he was a great Orientalist, a great Spanish scholar. He almost killed himself, literally, in the production of this.
And this is his signature?
This is actually in woodcut, facsimile, but at the end of each section, he then had that printed, or Plantin had that printed as well, to show that it had his mark of approval.
What was the appeal for all of these powerful rulers in something like this?
I think it's the power of the Bible itself, to be associated with something that was the Word of God. Philip II, a Catholic king, this was going to be literally a jewel in his crown. There were 1,200 on paper and 13 copies that Philip asked to be printed on vellum for his own personal use and gift. The first copy is sent to the Pope to seek his approval.
That's fascinating. So it's cutting-edge scholarship, it's cutting-edge technology to create it, and it's something which the most powerful people of the day invested in financially, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and this is it. So you really have it all there in between these covers.